Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News Update. Today's report is a focused and carefully structured overview of several developments that are currently shaping conversations around Iraq's political stability, economic direction, and financial reform environment. This update is not designed to create urgency or emotion, but to provide clarity, context, and a grounded understanding of why these stories matter and how they fit into the broader picture many observers are watching closely. We'll begin with regional security because it continues to influence nearly every major policy decision Iraq makes. Recent international reporting has emphasized that military assets across parts of the Middle East remain within operational range of missile and drone systems linked to regional tensions. While this type of news often appears disconnected from financial discussions, it is actually highly relevant. Security conditions directly affect investor confidence, diplomatic engagement, and the willingness of institutions to move forward with economic reforms. Stability does not require the absence of risk, but it does require the ability to manage that risk effectively, and Iraq continues to operate within a challenging regional environment. Domestically, Iraq has made measurable progress in internal security. According to recent assessments from international monitoring and security evaluation bodies, Iraq has improved its standing in global security rankings. This improvement reflects years of incremental work in policing, border enforcement, intelligence coordination, and institutional rebuilding. A safer internal environment reduces transaction risk, supports banking operations, and improves conditions for both domestic and foreign economic participation. These improvements are gradual, but they are foundational. From a monetary policy perspective, recent clarification from the Central Bank of Iraq regarding targeted financing initiatives has drawn attention. One example includes financing mechanisms tied to renewable or solar energy projects where reduced interest rates have been outlined, reportedly around 5%. It is important to note that the central bank does not compel private banks to participate in these programs. Instead, it sets frameworks and incentives that encourage alignment with national priorities. This approach reflects a modern central banking model focused on guidance rather than direct control, and it signals an effort to balance growth objectives with financial discipline. Energy remains the backbone of Iraq's economy, and recent movement in oil markets has reinforced this reality. Basra crude prices have reportedly risen alongside broader global trends driven by supply constraints, geopolitical uncertainty, and shifting demand patterns. As Iraq's primary export blend, Basra crude directly impacts government revenue, fiscal planning, and foreign reserve stability. Sustained energy income provides the government with greater flexibility in managing budgets, funding infrastructure, and supporting reform initiatives without excessive external dependence. Local market dynamics also continue to evolve, particularly in relation to currency usage. Reports from Baghdad and Erbil highlight ongoing attention to unofficial or parallel currency trading. Iraqi authorities have been clear that the long-term objective is to reduce reliance on foreign cash transactions in daily commerce and strengthen regulated digital and domestic payment systems. Policies restricting cash usage are part of a broader modernization effort aimed at transparency, financial inclusion, and improved oversight. These changes do not happen overnight, but they reflect a clear strategic direction. Precious metals pricing has also been rising in local markets, largely mirroring global trends. During periods of geopolitical uncertainty or economic stress, gold prices often increase as markets seek perceived stability. While this pattern is historically consistent, it is important to avoid simplistic conclusions. No single asset class performs the same function for every individual or institution. Financial resilience typically comes from balance, planning, and diversification rather than concentration. Beyond macroeconomic indicators, community-level stories continue to highlight social and economic resilience within Iraq. Coverage of small businesses, regional food culture, and local enterprises illustrates that economic life continues even amid broader challenges. These stories matter because sustainable growth is not driven solely by national policy announcements. It also depends on everyday commerce, employment opportunities, and consumer confidence at the local level. Strong communities support stronger national outcomes over time. Political developments remain complex and often contentious. Recent judicial statements have addressed concerns about external influence following international reactions to internal leadership disputes. While specific political figures often dominate headlines, financial observers tend to focus less on personalities and more on institutional continuity. Markets and institutions value predictability, rule-based governance, and the ability of a state to function despite political disagreement. These factors matter more than individual outcomes. Government formation discussions have reportedly entered a sensitive phase, with increased economic pressure from external partners. This is not unusual in transitional or coalition-based political systems. Economic leverage is frequently used as a tool to influence governance standards, particularly when corruption or security concerns are involved. While this pressure can slow progress in the short term, it can also accelerate structural reforms when accountability mechanisms are enforced consistently. On the resource side, Iraq continues to rank among the world's leading holders of proven natural gas reserves. Recent estimates place the country within the top tier globally. This is significant not because it guarantees immediate results, but because it represents long-term strategic potential. Developing gas infrastructure takes time, investment, and stability, but the scale of available resources positions Iraq as an important future player in regional and global energy markets. Alongside official reporting, a large volume of unofficial commentary continues to circulate online. Claims about exchange rates, timelines, and imminent outcomes are frequently shared without verification. It is important to understand why this occurs. Periods of uncertainty often attract exaggerated narratives, especially when people have invested time, attention, or resources into a particular outcome. Misinformation can spread quickly, not always out of malice, but often out of misunderstanding or emotional bias. Some analysts suggest that conflicting political news may be amplified to distract or test public response. Regardless of intent, the effect is the same: confusion and emotional fatigue among observers. This is why maintaining analytical distance is critical. Reacting emotionally to every headline can distort perspective and lead to poor decision-making. Clear thinking requires patience and verification. Internationally, increased focus has been placed on corruption enforcement within Iraq. Statements attributed to policy and diplomatic sources emphasize coordination with global financial oversight bodies to trace illicit funds, enforce sanctions, and pursue accountability. These efforts involve tracking asset movements, identifying beneficiaries, and addressing long-standing abuses that have weakened public trust. Strong enforcement systems are essential for long-term reform and international credibility. Some commentators argue that decades of sanctions and instability have contributed to informal economic behavior among segments of the population. While this context is important, it should not obscure the progress that has been made in rebuilding institutions. Iraq's path forward is uneven, but it is not stagnant. Reform is occurring through systems, not shortcuts. Political negotiations continue, including delays in leadership votes and constitutional processes. Such delays are common in environments where coalition politics dominate. While frustrating, postponements do not automatically signal collapse or failure. They often reflect ongoing negotiations behind the scenes. Observers should be cautious about interpreting timing delays as definitive outcomes. For those following Iraq's financial future, the key takeaway is that meaningful reform occurs through institutions, legal frameworks, and international coordination. Currency policy, banking reform, anti-corruption enforcement, and economic integration move at measured pace. Sudden outcomes promised without process should always be viewed with skepticism. The mission of Iraqi Dinar News Update remains consistent: provide verified information, explain context, and avoid sensationalism. Staying informed means prioritizing accuracy over excitement and understanding systems rather than chasing predictions. In summary, Iraq continues to navigate a complex environment shaped by regional security, political negotiation, monetary reform, and energy economics. Progress is structured and incremental. Viewing developments through this lens helps replace confusion with clarity and emotion with understanding. If you found this update valuable, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you can stay informed as verified information becomes available. Thank you for watching, and we'll continue to bring you grounded, responsible updates here on Iraqi Dinar News Update.